Okay, next chapter is Catelyn. I actually like this chapter because it was funny. So Catelyn is on the road. She's left King's Landing and she's on her way back to Winterfell. And they're passing through the Riverlands and she knows where they are, and she notices there's an inn up ahead that she used to go to when she was a girl. Also, when she's on the road, you know, she has her cloak on so no one can recognize her. But one of the lords passed right by them on the road and doesn't notice who she is, so she's blending in very well. They go to the inn, they pay for the room. Her and Sir Roderick go down to dinner, and they're sitting at this table with this singer named, is it Marillion? We'll call him Marillion, whatever, however you pronounce it. And he's funny. He's basically lying through his teeth about all the places he's been and all the people he's performed for and how much they loved him. And she's like, so have you been to Winterfell? He's like, oh yeah, the Starks love me. I just thought it was funny. So they're enjoying their dinner and everything, and then who waddles in except for Tyrion with his people. And Tyrion's like throwing around money, basically trying to get a room even though it's full. Tyrion basically has no idea what he's walked into, pretty much. He's looking around the tavern and he sees Catelyn Stark sitting there, and he goes to go over her and be like, oh, Lady Stark, what are you doing here? And she's all pissed and like sees him. She had noticed all the different people from the different houses, and she calls them out and basically tells them to grab him and she'll pay. Well, the point is, they grab Tyrion and he's like, what the hell? I just stopped and wanted some chicken. And the singer's like, you're a Stark? Yeah, like he was startled. So you can't lie about things you've done. Someone's going to call you out on it. What I did think was interesting in this chapter is that some of the Frey people stood up to help her, but some of them didn't. Like some of them kind of stood up and then sat back down. A couple of them were like, no, I don't really feel like. So you get the feeling right there that the Freys are kind of, they're iffy. Okay, on to Sansa. So we go on to Sansa. She's having fun at the tournament, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Peter Baelish comes over and sits with her and tells her, you know, your mother was my queen once and blah, blah, blah. We know you love Catelyn. Damn. Now you have to go and, like, creep out her daughter, too. He's just so slimy. Loras came over and gave her a flower. She's all swooning over everything. She's just being Sansa. I mean, she's a young girl and she can't help herself, you know. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. She has a good day with Joffrey. They're sitting and eating, and he's like feeding her things, and they're talking, and she's not noticing anything. Her Septa's getting drunk next to her, which is funny. Then Robert starts acting like an asshole. He's drunk and being Robert, and you can kind of see that Joffrey's a little embarrassed by it. And Sansa kind of puts her hand on his arm, kind of like just to kind of distract him and, you know, draw his attention back to her. But he's embarrassed by Robert. All these moments he keeps getting embarrassed by, Sansa's there, and I think he's getting mad about that, and that's why he's just like, eh. So he kind of like jumps when she touches him and asks if she needs an escort back to her place, and she's like yes, because she's all excited that he's gonna take her. But no, he calls her the Hound, and she's not happy about that. And the Hound's like, what, do you think he was going to take you? He's not taking you. So the Hound escorts her back to her place, and he tells her the story of what happened to his face. I like that it came from him instead of Littlefinger like it did in the show. You get more detail about what happened. His brother was... The Mountain's just an asshole. Like, he's always been an asshole. And he and Sansa have this moment, like, he tells her the story, and she's quiet, and she's like thinking about him being knighted, and she's like, he doesn't have honor or whatever the heck she said. And he's like, oh... no, he doesn't. I wish they had shown that in the show, because I was just so creeped out by the way he was paying attention to her in the show that it just felt weird. But seeing this part in the story, you totally get that he was just being protective of her. Like, they kind of had that moment they had together. You knew that he was okay and that he was protecting her, but they don't have that interaction in the show. If that story, like I said, had come from the Hound in the show, it would have felt a little less creepy when he was always at her assistance. Even though they did show some other things in the show, like, it just, I wish they'd had this moment from the start to ease her. But then he does end the conversation with, if you ever tell anyone, I'll kill you. So, well, I mean, that's appropriate. You just told someone one of your deepest, darkest secrets. You're like, fucking kill you. So, and then we go back to Ned. Now, in the Sansa chapter, we did have the scene where the Mountain pretty much impales a kid, and he's on his deathbed. So it opens up Ned's chapter with Sir Barristan Selmy saying that he stood vigil over the guy that night himself, and he's dead, and that he didn't have anyone there. He had a mother in the Vale, but that's it. He was here by himself. So Ned wants to, you know, take care of the mother and send her money, whatever, because he probably owed money for the armor that he had, which sucks. He went into debt just for this tournament, and there's a chance he was going to lose anyway. Like, don't do that. That's a big gamble. Anyway, so Robert's decided, like he had in Sansa's chapter, he wants to go and compete in the tournament, or the, what's it called? Where they all just basically fight. And people are trying to talk him out of it. He's not listening. He's trying to fit into his armor, but he's too damn fat. Ned tells him, Robert, you're fat. And he laughs. Lancel laughs. And he's like, oh, you think that's funny? So he sends Lancel and other squire, whatever, to go find the breastplate stretcher, which is hilarious because there's no such thing. And him and Ned have this moment where they're like, they hope that the guard, they hope that the weapons or whatever person plays along and sends them to see someone else to get the breastplate stretcher. That's funny. Like, he and Ned get along so well. It's just a shame that he's an arrogant asshole now that he's king. So then Robert's like, you and Jon Arryn always trying to protect me, and it sucks. And he makes Ned have a drink. They sit down. He starts talking about Cersei, how he can't have sex with her because she won't let him. And you can see he's just filled with all his regret. He apologizes for Ned having to kill Lady because he knows it's wrong. Because he knows Joffrey was lying. And he knows Cersei was just being an asshole. But he didn't do anything because he never does anything. And then he says, you know, he's thought about giving up the crown a couple of times and just going and live in the free cities and fighting with people because he doesn't want to be king. He's a warrior. He wants to fight. And Lord knows he's not good at kinging. So everyone goes to the jousting field. Everyone's fighting, blah, blah, blah. So Loras comes on with his cape of, like, beautifulness with blue sapphires and shit. Like, he knows how to make an entrance. I'll give it to him. The kid has style. And then it becomes painfully obvious that he was fighting dirty because his mare was in heat. So the poor other horse, the stallion's like all distracted and acting all crazy, and Sir Gregor the mountain is getting mad at his horse and like trying to get a hold of him. They go to joust at each other, and the Sir Gregor's horse is all like, and he loses, and the mountain is less than pleased with that result. So he kills his horse, and then he goes after Loras. But that didn't really work. But then the Hound comes from out of nowhere and defends him, and they fight, and the king's like, enough! And the Hound goes down to a knee, and Gregor like takes one last, pretty much a slap at his head, but it misses or whatever. But the whole time they're fighting, they pointed out that not one time, even though Gregor didn't have his helmet on, not one time did the Hound take a swipe at his head. Not once. Even though Gregor was trying to fucking kill him because he's evil. Not once did Hound take the shot at his head because he's honorable, whether he wants to think so or not. Robert's pissed and says, enough with all this bullshit, and the mountain storms off. Loras gives the Hound the win of the day, saying that he won the tournament. Thank you for saving my life. Yay! They all leave. Sansa's in a good mood. She's even nice to Arya for once and talking to her. And Arya says they're going to go catch cats next day, and Ned's like, there has to be someone else to teach you. He's having second thoughts, but Arya's happy, so he's letting it go. And he's sitting there trying to figure out how all these pieces of the puzzle fit together with brands falling and why Jon Arryn was going to visit places and all this stuff. And Ned's in his room, and someone comes to visit him, and he won't give a name of who it is. The guy comes in, and it's Varys in disguise. Apparently he's excellent at disguises, because we know he's the one who probably paid for Gendry's apprenticeship, right? So he comes in and he's talking about the fact that Cersei forbade Robert from taking part in the tournament, which we know means that Robert's going to do it just because you told him not to do it. And Ned's like, damn, the Lannisters are evil. And he's like, why did anyone try to stop him? And Varys is like, what do you think would happen if someone tried to stop him? He's going to be more adamant in doing it even more because we tried to stop him. And Ned's like, yeah, that's true. Like, he forgets that he's Ned, and Robert kind of listens to him. He doesn't listen to anybody else. And Varys is telling him, like, listen, everyone's out for themselves. The Lannisters don't trust anybody. Like, his brothers, there's a difference between loving your brother and hating the queen. Like, everyone has something to gain in the situation. And Ned's like, what about the Kingsguard? It's like, it's paper. Like, what is that gonna do against other people who are plotting against Robert? Think, dude. And Ned says, you know, we have to tell Robert, obviously, and Varys is saying, think about that. We don't have any evidence. All we have are rumors and conjecture, and that's not evidence. You can't take that to Robert because it's nothing to go on, even if you are Ned. And then Ned asks, how did Jon Arryn die? Varys says it's because of tears of Lys, which is a poison, is undetectable. And Ned asks who gave him the poison. He's like, there was one boy who probably could have done it, and it was the kid who died in the tournament earlier today, so you can't even go talk to him. And Ned says, you know, why? And then Varys tells him, for asking questions. Ned is so slow, dude. Like, I know this is a story, but he's so frustrating because he wants to think the best of everyone. I know he's had it pretty good up in Winterfell where people are honorable, but it's King's Landing. You have to know you're different. Like, you need to get out of that mindset. You can't be in that mindset. It's very frustrating. His chapters were very frustrating. The next ones will be Tyrion, Arya, and Ned one more time. That's it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.